Levadura! Ciao. I was telling this joke one evening about the rape and murder of this woman, and after my set, a man from the audience comes up to me and says, I think you ought to be aware of the fact that in real life, my wife was actually raped and murdered. And so he tells me this, and I had one of those moments where things sort of stand still and you start to see things differently. When I finally gathered a hold of myself, I apologized to the man and told him that from now on, you can be the one to tell the joke.
David Heti makes Ted Bundy look like Pokeroo. David is completely flagrant, and I wouldn't say he gets away with it because he doesn't get away with it.
Yeah, I've got friends who know David well and who dislike his comedy, and others who really like his comedy. And I think that's okay.
My name is David Heti. I used to tell jokes as a comic. Very recently, I learned that my employer will fire me if I continue to tell my jokes.
How would I describe my stand-up? It's not something that you enjoy doing, one enjoys doing, but perhaps a little not confrontational, not entirely, but also very silly, very light, a little bit divisive, a little bit dark, a little bit playful. It's a place with comedy, ideas of comedy. Last time I came to the museum, I was kicked out, or I chose to leave really, because I went in and I got into the front doors and I had a joke idea and I started writing my notebook, but I hadn't paid admission yet, so the security guard came in and said, "What are you doing? You didn't like the looks of me." And I was like, well, if this is how I was going to be, I'm going to go. So I left and I went to the Stax Record Museum instead. But now we're here, it all went fine, and like you said, got a joke out of it, which is kind of what counts. There's this one time though, I was in Memphis, and I had just a little bit of time left before I had to go on, the next morning. So I asked the comics I was hanging out with, what do you do? And they're like, you go to the National Civil Rights History Museum, which is actually on the site of the Lorraine Motel, which is where Martin Luther King Jr. was in fact assassinated. And so I get there, but it was during colored-only hours. About 2 months into my 10-month contract, the sort of probationary period, before everyone is basically hired, all the 10 articling students are hired, I got an email from HR asking me to come upstairs. There's some issue. And I wrote back and I was like, this is about the stand-up. And they said yes. It came down, in fact, that I was found in violation of the Code of Ethics and Morals or something, and I received a letter, and they had to go, they hired outside consultants apparently, because they didn't know how to deal with this. And I got a letter that was written very much by a team of lawyers, clearly, and it said, check one of the boxes. Yes, I will follow this directive, or no, I will not follow this directive. So what happened is that I wasn't asked back. I think I was the only articling student of a class of 10 not asked back over 10 years of a class of 10 anyway. So that's what happened. There were other incidents. I remember asking my mother what happens after we die, and she said, "Daddy goes to jail." Well, first off, it doesn't matter if people don't like it. Not everyone, has to like every comedy or every movie or every book, and it's not designed for everyone to enjoy it at all. It's not an issue.
I don't know. I really don't judge you based on your comedy. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but
Who knows?
yeah.
I don't know how to begin. I don't know. This is a new joke. So this, friend of mine, trans friend had an abortion. So like this trans men, like so born of a female body, but identifies as a man and had an abortion. And like we don't know how to feel. We don't know how to feel about this. Because it's supposed to be the woman's choice.